Salve omnes. This is the screencast for Aeneid, Book 1, lines 29 to 38. So, in this passage, we'll hear the very first speech of the entire Aeneid, and it does not go to Aeneas, rather to his rival or sort of primary antagonist, Juno, and comes just after Virgil listed the various reasons for Juno's wrath. And so, picking up from that, His Acensa super. So Acensa, the subject, is still Juno. So she inflamed His by these things. Besides, was Archeba. We've got to jump down a couple of lines to get a verb. So was holding off, warding off the Trojans, the Troas, Yaktatos Ikoratotos. So tossed on the whole sea. And notice Yaktatos. It's not just Yaktos, which you would get from Yakio, but Yaktatos from Yakto, Yaktara itself, a frequentative built from just the basic verb to throw. So Yaktatos isn't just to throw once, but to toss up again and again. So the Trojans, having been tossed on the whole sea, the remnants or the survivors of the Greeks and of harsh Achilles, and more literally, if we look into this word immitis, unmild Achilles. You could say that again, given all the Trojans that he murdered on the battlefield. So probably an example of litotes there, that he is unmild, meaning that he is very fierce, very dangerous. So these guys, the Trojans, she was holding far off from Latium. And now the subject switches to the Trojans themselves. They were wandering multos per annos through many years, acti fatis, driven by the fates, maria omnia circum, so around all of the seas. So putting circum, the preposition, after the noun that it modifies, has a special name that is called anastrophe. So anastrophe you can remember as a word order catastrophe. So an inversion of the normal word order is called anastrophe. Maria omnia circum, around all of the seas. Tantus molus erat Romanum condere gentem. So the subject here is actually this infinitive condere. So to found the Roman race was such a great burden. And notice literally it's actually of such a great burden there. So of such a great burden, such a great struggle was it to found the Roman race. So just mentioning, almost that the greatness of Rome is in proportion to the suffering that went into its foundation. All right, and now finally, that's basically the end of the introduction, and the story itself starts. And because it's an epic, the story starts in medias res, right? We jump right into the middle of things. And so here we are with the Trojans, weeks a conspectu Siciliae telluris, so barely out of sight of Sicilian land. They happy, lighty, this is the Trojans here, they happy were dabant wela, literally were giving their sails into the deep, right? So giving their sails, we might say, we're setting sail into the deep. The deep here meaning the sea, that's just an example of metonymy, right? Substitution of a different word, so meaning the deep, meaning the sea, that is called metonymy. And they were ruebant spuma salis aera, and they were plowing, rushing through the sprays of salt with bronze, right? And here, this is probably an example of a special kind of metonymy called synecdoche. So with bronze, it's talking about with their bronze prows. And even that is in turn talking about kind of their whole ship. So they were plowing the sprays of salt with their ships, but here just saying with bronze, talking about the bronze beaks that go on the ships. So they were barely out of sight of Sicily. Cum Juno, when Juno, servans aeternum vulnus sub pectora, so nursing, keeping an eternal wound. You might have woolness with a U, but that's a old-fashioned spelling, woolness. Nursing an eternal wound under her chest or under her breast or her heart. Haec secum, these things with herself, quote, and obviously he's left out any verb of said, but you don't need it. It's pretty clear what he's talking about here. So when Juno said, understood, these things with herself. And like I said, this is the first time anyone in the Aeneid actually speaks. And here she goes. Main incepto de sistera victam nec pos Italia to crorum a vertere regum. And all right, so one interesting thing here is that she is kind of mid-thought, just like the poem starts in Medias Res. Juno herself starts right in the middle of her thought because we're in indirect statement. It's like, can you believe? Or like, and then she just starts talking, right? So I conquered Wictum, May Wictum, am to cease from my undertaking, right? Am I conquered to stop from the thing having been begun, right? So am I to cease from my undertaking conquered, nor am I able to turn away the king of the Trojans from Italy, right? The meter will tell us that's Italia, and that ablative will mean that it's from Italy. So several interesting things here. One, her emotional state, the fact that she's so worked up about this, is actually reflected by, as I said, the fact that it starts right in indirect statement, as though she is mid-thought. And it's kind of like another thing that bothers me is that what I am supposed to just quit. I'm conquered? No way. And then, all right, get ready for this because this is just too awesome to believe. So with the elision, you don't pronounce the of mena. It just goes mainen kepto de sistera victam. And as we mentioned in a previous screencast, the Aeneid owes a lot to the epics of Homer. And the very first epic is thought to be the Iliad. It's thought to predate the Odyssey, though, who knows? They both existed very early. But the very first word of the Iliad is a Greek word, mainen, and it means wrath. So the Iliad is all about wrath and Achilles' wrath. So mainen is this bilingual shout out to the opening of the Iliad, talking about wrath, just as Juno is the first person to speak in the Aeneid, talking, basically like venting her spleen, speaking about her wrath. And Virgil has just kind of, transcended anything you can imagine by pulling this off, throwing in the elision mainen. It's not even, he doesn't say the Greek word wrath, but, an educated Roman would hear that and be like, oh, snap, that is good. That is good stuff. So, hopefully that will get you going. Her speech keeps going from there, but that is a topic for another screencast. Thanks.